Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. Hope you are all having a safe day. I won't say a great day because in lockdown it's probably not quite that great. But anyway, I've been filling the time away by painting the same picture 4 times. I've got plenty of time on my hands. Let's give it a go. And I've done this sort of little country lane painted in 4 different taps using watercolour techniques for the 4. So I've done Krita, Rebelle 3, Artrage 6 and Procreate, and I thought I would compare all 4 apps and see how they perform just doing watercolour. I've put in the a description of the timelines where you can see each of the videos, so if you just want to see, or each of the apps, so if you're just interested in one of the apps, you can jump straight to that. If you wait till the end, you'll see my conclusion and what I thought to them all. So let's just get straight into the comparison. Comparing different apps for their watercolour painting features, it's been something I've been meaning to do for ages and ages, and now we're in lockdown. It seemed like the perfect opportunity because I've got lots and lots of time. These paintings, I've done 4, as I've said earlier. We're looking at Krita first of all. This is the Krita one. And I've had to speed them up because obviously if I did them in real time, the videos would be over like 2 hours long. So this isn't a tutorial. It's not showing you how to use the brushes. I've got loads and loads of videos that you can check out on all the apps on how to use watercolour in them. This is just comparing them, and I thought I would do the same picture for everyone. You can see the photograph I'm using for the source. I have to say the test isn't very scientific because the human factor comes into it, and boredom comes into it. So the later paintings, I'm sort of working through them quicker, but also I'm also more adept at the scene and putting things where I want them, because you'll see from the first one how the painting evolves through the different paintings, and I change things. For example, the first one has no trees on the left hand side, but in the other paintings I decided to add some trees. So it's not exactly the same painting in every one, and the human factor does come into play. But anyway, here we are with Krita, and I'm using a blending brush at the minute. I used a palette that I'd put together. There's a video I've already created showing you how I put that palette together. A selection of brushes. I think they call it a tab or something. Of brushes that I think are appropriate for watercolour. These are all default brushes that you get in Krita. I'm not using Digital Atelier or anything like that. I just wanted to use the default brushes. The only one I didn't use default brushes for is Procreate, and I'll talk about that a bit later on. So I'm using sort of a scumbly brush, and you'll see me sort of undoing things that I don't like. I'm not so sure as if I left that sort of scumbled looking at the bottom, but I'm sort of torn between it looking like this one looking like a watercolour or an acrylic painting. There are elements of it that definitely look watercolour. I'm like what I'm doing now, putting those sort of branches in. I think they work quite well. And as I add colour, I think it does become more watercolour-like. And it does do a reasonable job. You got to remember, this app is absolutely free. I'm using a PC version for this. See, I'm building the colour up. That brush that I'm using now is quite nice. It gives you this sort of putting really thick paint into a wet wash where the paint sort of bleeds out a little bit, which is really quite nice. Flicking a few branches in there. So I've speeded each of these videos up to 5 minutes a piece. I toyed with the idea of putting them side by side and having all 4 on the screen at once, and you're seeing all 4 playing out together. But I thought that was a bad idea because you couldn't really see the detail. I did try it, and you just can't see the detail. I love this brush for putting in this branch. I think that worked really, really well. And I'm liking the way that branch goes right the way across, cuts across the whole of the painting. In the other paintings, I stop it sort of on the 3rd. I don't think it looks as good as it does there. It's got a nice sort of fresh look. And I just darkened that colour up because I noticed that the shadow was much darker than on the branch. So I wanted to make the branch the darker of the colour, not the shadow. I didn't bother putting in that sun ray that's on the photo. I missed that out. So we're getting pretty close to the end of this first one, and I was quite pleased with it actually. Just default brushes in Krita, absolutely free, doesn't cost anything, and you can be up and painting with watercolours straight away. And there's a sort of a close-up look at it. And we'll just zoom out and show you the full painting. So that's Krita. The next one's Rebelle. Now this one, I did the drawing in each one as well because I felt that it was important that I tried the pencil tool. And I really like the pencil tool in Rebelle. It feels really organic. It feels like you're drawing on watercolour paper, and it's got that right look. I felt the Krita one was a bit mechanical. It looked a bit mechanical, where this looks much more natural. And I really like the sketching. I enjoyed sketching this out more than I did on the previous app, the Krita one. In fact, I probably liked it best of the 4 apps. Now, obviously, this one is very different to all of the other apps that I've used, in as much that the engine actually makes the paint that you apply react like real watercolor, so you're getting a real watercolor experience, or a close simulation to real watercolor, I should say. I'm using the masking fluid technique in Rebelle. I'll check out the videos if you want to see how I did that. I really do like it a lot, and you can see there, look, how you apply the paint. I decided to put a bit more masking in, and you put the paint on, and it just diffuses onto the paper, and you can watch it. Very, very, very similar to painting in real watercolor. This app by far is the closest approximation to real watercolor. And I know there's other apps out there that do this. There's, I think it's one called Expressi 2. The Adobe have done one. The sketching app's got a really cool watercolor engine. Tchaikovsky sketches, but the video would have been just too long. But look how, what else I like about this. Just look at these vibrant colours going on. I couldn't get that in Krita. I couldn't seem to get that vibrancy of colour that I'm achieving here. And the way the paint just sort of flows, and you get that really diffused look. Love it. There is a risk of overworking it, of course. So I pretty much use the mop in this. I'm using the mop and the filbert and the liner. And you turn off that masking layer, you create a new layer, and you can start painting into that. And that just feels to me so much like a real watercolour. But we've got 2 more apps to go yet. Still experimenting with this. In fact, I found that because I use so many apps, when I went into Procreate and Artrage, it took me a while to feel my way around again, because I haven't used it for such a long time, and I was sort of forgetting the commands. Where this one, because I've only done like 2 paintings in it or something like that, not many, but I felt so more at home with this app because I'd actually been using it most recently, and was really getting quite familiar with a few of the controls. What I've done here, I've created another layer and I'm applying another wash on the top of that to sort of push those trees back into the foliage and make them sort of disappear a little bit. And I love the sort of white flicks of the branches that we're getting in there. Using the liner now, I'm guessing. Yep, using the liner to put in these twigs and branches. You'll see I'm sort of trying things and undoing it all the time. I do that on all the apps. I'm sort of doing different things and just trying techniques and ideas and then going back and undoing it. Thinking about which side the sun was coming then, I'd got the shadows on the wrong side of the tree. So I just feel like I need some darker branches in there now, just to sort of counterbalance the light branches that we've got flicked in. Getting very close to the end of this one, so in a second I'll just get it signed and then we'll take a closer look at it so you can see the detail. There you go, you can see all the texture of the paper, you see it puts all that in there for you. Really nice. So that, I think that's a pretty good rendition of a watercolour. Right, Artrage 6, again this is on the PC. I begin with the sketching. I did have a problem with this. I had to film it in two parts because the pencil felt a bit clunky, and I discovered halfway through that the last Windows install had messed up all the touch sensitive features of Artrage. It had done the same to Krita, Rebelle, all of them, and I'd gone through them all and reset them all, but this one I'd missed for some reason. So the first part of the painting I was struggling, and I thought this is better than this. I know Artrage is better than this. So this first bit, there's no pressure sensitivity on the pencil at all, so it all looks a little bit clunky. And unlike the other one where I used the masking layer, I just used the eraser to lift out and get the same sort of effect. And I was thinking at this point, wow, this is crashing and burning, because, you know, I thought Artrage was way better. Again, I have made my own brushes for this. You can see there, look, it was really clunky, and again, I'm not feeling it. I have made my own brushes for Artrage, but I didn't want to use them. I'm just using the default ones because you can do on the iPad exactly the same as what I've done here. Now you see I'm messing about there now, thinking, what's going wrong with this brush? Why is there no pressure sensitivity and it looks so amateurish? And I'm trying different things and thinking, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And eventually I stopped recording and fix the issue. And here we go. I've sorted it now. So now I can start getting some real texture in there and some nice drawn lines. And all of a sudden it feels like I'm using a proper app again. And I'm really happy with it. So Artrage, I mean, Rebelle is the only one where the paint flows. You can get very similar effects with all the other three apps, but you have to manipulate the paint yourself. It doesn't flow out. You have to use blenders to push the paint around, and you'll see me use the palette knife a lot in this one to break up paint and smudge it. Getting those shadows in on the path. I like watercolour because you begin with all the lights and the bright colours, and then you start adding all the shadows and the tones, and it's a nice it seems to me to be the most natural way of doing it, because that's how I you know, watercolour is my or was my main medium. For many years I just painted in watercolour and nothing else, and it's only in the last 3 years, I've sort of really got into looking at different materials and different paints and things and types of simulated materials like pastels and stuff, although I have done some pastels before, but I've now got into them more with the real pastels and paints because of using the digital apps all the time. So the 3 paintings, you can see they're all very similar, but they're all looking quite different, and I approach them differently. This one's got lots more twigs and branches painted in on the trees on the left. And you can see how the paintings evolve between the 3. It's quite interesting, really. Just finishing off with some darks. And it's interesting how I've changed the branch in the top part of the painting. This one's much more angled than previous versions. Though I was using the palette knife then to soften off colour. Messing about there, I didn't like it. Sort of put things in, take them out again. I just wasn't feeling that one corner of the painting. So there we go. That is the Artrage one. Let's have a quick look at that. And then the last one is Procreate. And I am actually using my brushes for this one. You can get these, and I've thought I put this one in because you can get the brushes for free. It's not like you've got to go out and buy them. So there's no cost to it. So if you've got Procreate, you can get my watercolour brushes for free. And I'm very comfy with using these, and I've never really played around with any other brushes in Procreate, so I felt I had to use these. And I do this one differently, and I don't know why I did it this way, but I put all the colour on, similar to the others, getting these nice bright colours in and washes and things. And then I painted over the tree with a light colour instead of lifting it out. I don't know why I did that. It just felt... I think it was because I'd done the same with all the others. I just wanted to try something a little bit different. But you can see it looks pretty much the same when we've done it. And then I can create a new layer and start painting over that. So I'm using the big brush watercolours that I'd got, watercolour brushes, to get that sort of soft, diffuse, wet in wet look. And then I start blending out. I use a different range of... And I used a marker pen on the eraser because that gave me a nice sharp edge for lifting out. So I used the marker pen in some places. Then other times I changed it and used a wet in wet brush. But as you can see, it's doing a reasonable job. All the 3 look very similar. When I say the 3, I'm talking about Krita, Artrage and Procreate. Rebelle's totally different beast entirely, really. I was trying different brushes to sort of get a different look and effect on that branch on the front, just mixing the colours up a little bit. And this one, to be honest with you, I was quite bored with this. Painting the same picture 4 times. It took me all day to do this. I wasn't painting all day, but it took me all day to actually do the 4 paintings and then put them into the editing software and decide how I was going to do it. And then this is the second day now where I'm putting the audio on. So it's been a good time filler during the lockdown. I like the way I put this wash. I set the blend mode to multiply, and I put this wash over the top. You can see those the effect of the leaves on the left. I hadn't done that in any of the other paintings, and I really like that. So this painting's got a sort of darker, quite a different feel to it, which I like. And it to me, it's got a very watercolour look about it. Just popping in a few highlights and then shadows on there. You can see I'm sort of trying things. I did a lot of undo. I used the undo tool a lot on all of these paintings to get the effects I wanted. And I was trying different things. And if I didn't think it looked like watercolour, I kind of undid it and went back and tried to fix it to get that watercolour effect. Because I could have got a nice effect that would look like a digital painting or an acrylic painting. So, but it wasn't what I was after. I was trying to get something that looked really watercolor like, and I think maybe this one I may have overworked it a bit. I don't know. Quite happy with the I'm very happy with the old effect, really. At this point I'm just fiddling, really. You can see how I sort of wanted to push those distant trees back a little bit by just lightening them up, adding a little bit of blue in there, and then I'm just adding bits of colour and tweaking blending mode slightly, adding bits of shadow, and just sort of fiddling. I've really got to the point where I'm fiddling this one, so I need to stop it. I've already signed it, so it should be finished. So there we go. Let's have a quick look at the Procreate one close up. I could have put a watercolour paper behind it, I suppose. But there we go. That's it. So I think let's just take a look at all four of the paintings side by side. See what they look like. There we go. And which one would I use? Would I choose? I think if you are a traditional watercolourist and you want to get an effect or feel like you're painting with watercolours, you've got to go with Rebelle 3. Hands down, that is the only one that feels like you are painting with watercolour. However, having said that, if you want to get a watercolour effect, you never use real paint and you're just into digital painting, then you could choose Artrage, Krita or Procreate. Either of those do a reasonable job of an interpretation of watercolour. And if you own any of those, I wouldn't rush out to buy any of the others. I don't think they really offer anything particularly better than others. Because Krita, of course, there's lots that you can add different brushes to that. You can definitely look at the Digital Atelier brushes, which are excellent. I didn't include in this demo, but that would change the whole effect for you with Krita entirely. So Krita's definitely out there for you. Artrage does a really good job. You can use it on the iPad as well. Really easy to use. My having the issues with the brush sensitivity not working properly probably didn't show it at its best light here, but it really is really good. And Procreate with the brushes, I mean, there's other artists' brushes out there as well as mine, and I felt I didn't really do that one justice. I know I've done better watercolours interpretations using that one as well. So I would choose I recommend any of those three apps to you. I don't think there's any out there that I would say don't touch that. But if you've already got one, stick with the one you've got. And if you really want that watercolour effect, go with the Rebelle. And I have to say, by the way, that the Rebelle one was, I think if you put them side by side, if you look at them now, that is the most watercolour looking painting. So there we go. That is my comparison of the of the four apps. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, big thumbs up as always is much appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So keep painting, everybody, stay safe and sane, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.